Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. And then in this video, we're going to take a look at obviously how the miners did today, the Bitcoin in general as well. And then we'll just take a look at to see if the miners can still do like a 5x, 10x, 15x going after the halving event. So looking back more into the future into 2025. We did a similar video on this back a couple of months back. I think it was like 3-4 months back that we did this. So this is an updated version of it. I did increase the network hash rate in here as well because that has been going up pretty much. So we'll talk about all the details that are in there, and then we'll go over what we had last time and what we have this time around, okay? So there's a lot to go through. I'm going to put the chapters down below for you guys so you guys can skip to the ones that you want to see. But as always, you know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research and invest in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Helps the YouTube algorithm. So I would appreciate if you guys hit the like button. Okay, so let's take a look at here what's going on with Bitcoin really quick, along with the miners here. So Bitcoin right now just transitioned over to the new day. It is down a little bit here. It was up barely today. It was up 0.33%. It closed at 43,027. But nonetheless, we're still trending upwards, which is nice to see. Today was obviously a little bit more of a down, well, not a down day. I would say more of a, what's what I'm looking for. I guess an average day, I guess you could say. It wasn't a great day. It wasn't a bad day. It was kind of like a mad day for Bitcoin. But the miners, same thing. Some miners were up nicely. Some were down. And you can see here on the big ones, obviously Argo was up nice today, 17.9%. Let's see here. Bitfarms was actually down today, 2%, a little bit. So some profit taking going on there. Cleanspark was up 6.5%. Digihost was up 18%. So some of the smaller miners are actually doing better. I think people are just bottom fishing here a little bit. Then you got, let's see here, Greenwich was down 10%. Hut was up nicely today, 7.5 roughly. Marathon was up 6.3. Mawson was down 6.6. Riot was up only 3.3. Then you had Wolf being up 9.2. So like I said, it was a pretty mixed day here on the miners and not a lot of news out there. So we pretty much have everything covered. And so I figured we'd do this video on the miners, see where they could possibly be in the next basically 18 months, I guess you could say, from where we are right now. Okay, so a couple of things to note here. One is the network hash rate for Bitcoin has been going parabolic here pretty much since last year and into this year. We've pretty much doubled in the hash rate, well, in the last 12 months, basically. And I expect that to continue going forward. And I've done a video on this in the last week or so explaining why the network hash rate is going up so much. So I can expect that to continue going forward into the bull run that we're possibly going to have next year when we have the halving event in April. So this is based on, my assumptions are based on this continuing to go up or doubling roughly, okay? Next, let's take a look at over here. So another thing to preface is the miners have had a really good year so far this year, which was a surprise to me because last cycle, the miners actually went down prior to the halving event while Bitcoin was going up. We're not seeing it this time around. We saw a nice rally here in the beginning of the year through June, July, where the miners were up huge. Then we had a little bit of a pullback for a couple months, about 3 months, and then ever since probably the last 12 weeks, the miners have started going back up nicely, mainly because I think we have the spot Bitcoin ETF. That's throwing a wrench to the previous rally a little bit, but it's a good wrench because it's obviously driving the price of Bitcoin and miners up as well. So that's helping us out, and you can see here how much the miners are up from the beginning of this year. Okay, so they've already done, a lot of them have done 5-7x already from where they started. Some have already done more. And we'll take a look now, where could they possibly be after the halving event, going into basically a year out after the halving event, okay? So here's what we got on this. I got two sheets in here. I got the one that I did before, which was about 3-4 months old now. And we'll do a comparison on all of these guys here. So when we look at the sheet here, we have the network hash rate, which is this green line up here, going pretty much parabolic here. Don't want to do that. Let's see here. That changed it. That changed it. Yep. Okay. So that's kind of going up quite nicely here in the next year or so. Then we have the gray line is Bitcoin going up to like 288, 300,000 roughly. And then the green line below it is Bitcoin going up to about 180, something like that. Okay. And we can see it over here on the numbers that I ran. So we have Bitcoin going from where it's at right now all the way to about 181,000 at the end of July 2025. Average hash rate for Bitcoin network at that point would be 773 exahash. It might be even north of that, closer to probably like 800, 850, something like that. But I'm just kind of being a little bit conservative here on this number. And then we looked at all the machines that are going to be obviously plugged in, what we know of currently. So As always, with these miners, they may continue to build out into the future. We just don't know that, so we're going based on the numbers that we do have now. Okay, and then we're also using the current shares outstanding for each of these, their current market cap, their latest stock dollar value right now. And then I'm also using for all these, I'll try to explain it as we go through it. But you can see here for Argo right now, based on my numbers here, we're looking at the end of 2025. So this is going to be always for the end of 2025 in July. Well, not the end of July. End of July of 2025, not the end of 2025. So pretty much halfway into 2025, I have Argo possibly being at 315 million in market cap. That's on the higher side of things. We're looking at Bitcoin being at 286,000 roughly, and a 75% gross profit margin for them. That would get us to about a stock price of $5.44. Right, and we'll do this for all of these here, but I'm not going to explain it each time. 286 Bitcoin 50% gross profit would be $3.63 for the Argo stock price. At 180, we're looking at $3.59, and then at 50%, we're looking at $2.39. So we're kind of getting a span of possibilities where it could be. All right, and then the average here for all these, we're doing an average of $3.76, and we'll do this for every one of them. And then we're getting obviously the low possibility of an increase in the stock right now. So stock is at $2.14. On the low end, we could go possibly 1.1x from where we are right now, which would get us to $2.39. And then on the high end, 2.5x, which would get us to the $5.44, right, from where it is right now. Also on the average side of things, we would be 1.8x. So not really a lot of growth in Argo. Argo is pretty much capped out at 2.8 exahash right now. And I have them at with a PE multiple of 5, right? So that I grade these based on their future growth. We don't have a lot of growth for them right now. We're growing into having events, so they're at a 5. They could get obviously more than that going with Bitcoin in a bull run and everything else. So they could catch more, which then would obviously increase the price of their shares, right? So I'm being very conservative on here so you guys understand. This is not a hopium type of deal. This is kind of a more realistic, I think, approach to where these miners could be. Now, if we look at the numbers that we had prior here, the last time we did this video, they had a market cap at that point of 63 million. Right now, they have a market cap of 124, so they pretty much doubled already. And you can see here that at that point in time, I had them going up 5.8x on the high side, 4x on the average side. So we're looking at $6.89 on the higher side. And the reason it's actually lower this time around is because I increased the network hash rate going up higher here recently than I had it back then. If I look at the numbers here for them, from the 3-4 months ago that I did this, I had the network hash rate only going to 635 exahash, right? I definitely think we're going to go past that. That's why it's updated here, because the network hash rate has been going parabolic. Okay, so that's Argo right there. If you guys have any questions on that one, let me know. And then we'll take a look at the next one here, which is going to be Bitdeer. Bit Digital. So Bit Digital is at $3.29 right now. Market cap is at about 300 million. They have about 90 million shares outstanding. Future exahash is going to be about 2.53. Excuse me. I probably should have included what they actually have right now, but you guys can take a look at that on the other videos. I have them at with a multiple of 10 PE, and then obviously their future potential for the high side of things would be 645 million market cap, which would be about a 2.2 increase from where they are right now. So the price targets here are somewhere between $3.13 to $7.11, with the average of $4.92 going into it, and that's based on if they don't grow any further than where they are right now. We do know that they are going to be possibly growing into the halving event, and after the halving event, they are also doing the AI things right now. I believe they just posted on Twitter that they got the servers for those. So they do have a contract in place for 3 years. It's going to give them like 35 million a year. So that's going to be a nice revenue increase on that. So you can add that on top of what we have here. And then you can obviously figure out what that would possibly be. So I think they would be higher than what we are right now. Okay. But we'll have to see obviously how the AI side of the business goes. Okay. Previously for Bit Digital, we had them at, let's take a look at this as well. Bit Digital previously, we had them going up 3.8x on the high side with a market cap of 753 million. So those are the differences between the two there. Okay. And let's take a look at the next one here, Bitdeer. Bitdeer right now is at $3.61. I think that they are undervalued, and I'm not sure why that is. I think insiders were selling the stock because the lockup period ended for them, but they're definitely way undervalued in my opinion right now. They still have the potential to go up higher. One of the concerns that I have with Bitdeer, however, is that they don't provide, at least when I checked their latest Q4, not Q10 results on the SEC website, I didn't see anything in there for as far as cash flows, tables in there, or the shares, right? How the shares are accounted for. I didn't see that. So that's a little concerning for me there. Maybe that's also concerning for some of the investors in there as well. They're in them, but I do think that they are undervalued for where they are right now. So they're currently at about 7.6 exahash for self-mining. I'm guessing they're probably going to want to grow that even more going forward. And I have them at a P of 15. So total market cap possibly could be for them about 10.4 billion. They're at 733 million right now. They do have 203 million shares. And the thing goes for all of these, right? This is not accounting for any share dilution that we might see from all these miners. So if they dilute, we could be looking at a lower price target for them at that point. But we'll try to do this kind of video maybe every quarter or something like that, every 3-4 months, just to see how things are stacking up, especially after we get the quarterly results updated, so we see where the share prices are, not the share prices, but the shares outstanding are at. Okay, so price targets for them right now are between $21.65 to $51.49 on the high end. On the average side, we're looking at $34.98. And you can see here, when we look at this one here on the previous one, Bitdeer, they were at $2.40. We had a multiple of 25x to 17x, and now they are at 14.3 to 9.7x, somewhere around there. Okay, still definitely good growth here going forward, and if they do grow, we can obviously get them up even higher than that. All right, next one is going to be on Bitfarms. So Bitfarms right now is at $2.89. Market cap is at 930 million. Shares outstanding is 322 million, which accounts for the 44 million something that they diluted in order to basically get cash for it, so they could buy the miners that they're going to be growing to 12 exahash and beyond that to 17 exahash. Okay, so they're going to be at 17 exahash going forward. That should be done by the end of next year, so that's why we're counting this. And then PE of 20, because they are growing quite nicely here, so they could get a market cap of about 10.4 billion if all goes well on the high side, obviously. And then we're looking at price targets between $14.33 on the low end to potentially $32.54 on the high end. The average would be $22, so we're still looking at basically a multiple of 5 for the low end, 11x for the high end, and about 7.8 on the average side of things. So definitely still quite a bit of growth there in them. If we look at the previous one from a couple months back, Bitfarms, we're looking at much higher multiples at that time. I thought that they were way undervalued based on what they actually had at that time. And this did not believe it didn't have the 17 exahash at that point. And that's why this is much higher, because I believe I updated this now to that. Okay, so that's why. And then we'd have a market cap of about 11.9 billion or something like that at that time. They had shares outstanding was less, I believe, right? Yeah, at that point. Yep. So that's the reason for that. But basically, definitely undervalued, in my opinion, back then, and still possibly undervalued here currently as well for that one. Okay, next is going to be Cipher. So Cipher is currently at $2.58, market cap 657 million, shares outstanding 254 million. Future exahash about 8.56. They said they want to grow, continuing to grow. On the high side of things, depending on where they grow with their hash rate, the big thing is obviously hash rate growth here. If they can get to a much higher hash rate, that will increase their market cap as well. But right now I'm at about 4.6 at the end of July of 2025, potentially with Bitcoin being at 280 some thousand. But price targets are somewhere between $8 and $18.19. On the average side, we're looking at $12.59 on them. And that would be a multiple of 3.1 on the low side to 7.1 on the high side. And the average would be about 4.9. So still really good multiples here. However, the concern with Cipher is that they are, majority of the shares are owned by Bitfury, which sold about 10 million shares just a couple of weeks ago. That had a negative impact on the stock. It hasn't really recouped after that. But there's also concern that they might sell more Bitfury, that is, after January, which I think is the lockup period for them, where they can't sell until like January something. So there's some concern there. That's why the stock is being held down a little bit right now. Okay. If we look at the previous numbers that we had for them on this one, Cipher, really quick, we had them going to 3.4 billion. We had a 2.2 increase from 5.1. They had a different hash rate at that point, 7.36 future. So that grew an average multiple increase of 3.5. And here were the price targets. So the price targets did definitely improve for them as the hash rate grew. Okay. Next one is going to be on Cleanspark. Cleanspark has had a huge rally here in the last couple of weeks. They're up very nicely here at $10.92. Their market cap is at $2 billion basically. Prior to the last couple of weeks, they were at like a market cap of like 600 million or something like that. So they've had a huge rally here. Shares outstanding 184 million right now. Future exahash going to be 20 exahash. They could obviously grow past this. We're seeing Riot buy more miners, getting up much higher. So I would expect possibly see them also announce something in the future to get them higher than that. But this is kind of what we're going by right now. P multiple of 20 right now. That would get them a market cap of about 12.3 billion. And looking at the price targets, we're looking somewhere between $29.41 on the low end to the high end of $66.70 and the average of $46. So still definitely quite a bit of growth here in them. So low side X multiple would be 2.7 to the high 6.1 and the average would be 4.2. And here's how they stacked up last time as well. Cleanspark here, you can see here that we had them at 14.3 billion. A little bit, they had less shares obviously outstanding at that point. We still have it going to 20 exahash, it looks like. And we had a 5.5 multiple on the low side, 12.5 on the high side, and 8.6, but the price targets are down a little bit here, obviously from the $77 to the $66. And that is mainly because they have more shares out. That's the real reason why. Also, we have the network hash rate going up here more than we did before. So that's also going to have an impact on all these miners as well. All right, so that's Cleanspark right there. Next is going to be Core. Core is obviously supposed to get out of bankruptcy here in the next couple of weeks. We'll see how many shares they have outstanding at that point and everything else. But currently they have 69 cents per share. Market cap is at 266 million. Shares outstanding 386 million. Market cap based on the future earnings potential would be about 3 billion. Right? That's with them getting to 15.21, which is probably where they are at right now. They did state in their restructuring that they will be getting miners from Antminer or Bitmain. They have a deal with them where they're going to pay some with cash for it and the rest is going to be in shares. But that's supposed to be upon approval of the restructuring. So that might add them another 4 exahash on top of it. So that should increase their numbers here. So we could probably even throw the PE up a little bit higher to maybe a 15. And depending on how they do after the restructuring, they could grow possibly even more. But right now, this is kind of where we have them. So between $3.39 on the low end to $7.69, and the average would be $5.32. So a multiple of 4.9 on the low end to the high end, 11.1x, and the average would be 7.7x from where they are right now. But we got to see where they come out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy and how they restructure and everything on top of that. So looking back at the numbers here prior to it, we had them getting a 25.3x. They were at 46 cents at that time, obviously. Market cap is pretty close to where it was. Obviously, it's down a little bit as we increase the network hash rate on there. But you can see how that has changed as their value has gone up as well. Okay, next, Digihost. Digihost is one of the smaller miners that we cover here. They're currently $1.39, valued about 39 million. Obviously, almost what do they call it? Micro cap stock, right? 39 million. That's not a lot. Shares outstanding 28 million. Their future hash rate 1.1. We don't know about any further growth. They've been kind of hush on that. So I've been at PE multiple of 5. So if things go well, Bitcoin goes up to the high of 280,000 plus. We could get about 160 million on the market cap for them from where they are right now. And price target would be somewhere around $2.46 to maybe $5.59, with the average being $3.87. And then obviously the multiple increase would be 1.8 on the low end, 4x on the high end, and the average would be 2.8 here. And then looking at previously for Digihost, we can see that we had them at 187 million market cap, 2.1x increase to 4.8 to the average 3.3. So that's how that all shapes up. Okay. Next one is going to be on DMG, also another small one. They are obviously going to be buying miners to get to 2 exahash. They're currently right around 1 exahash as it is. Not a lot of growth there as well. Their current market cap is at 50 million. Shares outstanding, 167 million as it is right now. Future market cap potential will be around 270 million roughly. And then the price targets for per share would be between 71 cents on the low end to $1.61 on the high end, and the average $1.11. So we're still looking at a multiple possibly of 2.4 on the low side to 5.4x on the high side, with the average 3.7x going forward. This is where, like I keep saying, hash rate growth is really important when you go into the halving event, and smaller miners are not growing that much. Okay, so if we look at DMG here on the previous one, I'm not going to go over too much, but you can obviously take a look at the numbers here as well. and then reference back these numbers here, and you can see how things have stacked up with the higher network hash rate in the future. Okay, next is going to be Hive here. Hive right now is at $3.59, market cap at 309 million, shares outstanding 86 million. Future hash rate 5.51. They say they want to get to 6 exahash before the Halving event, maybe more than that. They definitely need to grow. They are swapping out miners that they have that are older for the newer ones, which is good. I'm with a P growth of 10 potentially. We could get it to a market cap of about 1.7 billion on them, with Bitcoin price going up over 280. And price target here would be between $8.68 on the low side to $19.71 on the high side, and the average around $13.63. So that would give us a multiple on the low side of 2.4x, high side 5.5x, and the average would be 3.8x right now. They're also getting into AI as well, so we'll see how that can maybe help them out with revenue and things like that. But if we look at the previous numbers here for them, we can see here that they had an 8x on the high side, 3.5 on the low side, 5.6 on the high side, and the market cap was a little bit higher, and then we do have it here right now, and that is based on the average hash rate going forward. Okay, next is going to be Hut 8. Obviously, they just merged with USBTC not too long ago. We have approximately, this should be around right around 88 million shares. That should be updated here. So that's not really accurate. They're probably close to, are they $11 right now? I don't think they're $11. Are they? Let's take a look. Did I do something wrong here? Hut 8. Where are they at? Yeah, they're at 961. Where did I get $11 from? Okay. That's definitely wrong here. They are at $9.61. So we'll get this updated here. And that is coming up from down here, $9.61. Why did that get there? 961. There's an error there. And they currently have, let's see here, 88 million shares. Okay, that works out much better. Okay, so future hash rate is going to be about 7.3, which is where they're at right now. They are bidding for Validus properties, which is, I believe, 4 power plants powered by gas. They do have about 330 megawatts between them all combined. That could be a good growth for them going forward. That could get them another additional 15 exahash potentially, but if they get remove some of the older miners that they have, we're looking more at an addition of 13 exahash, something like that. 13 to 12 exahash additional if they remove the older miners. So, but we haven't heard anything yet. So they do have growth potential there as well. So right now we're looking at a market cap of about 1.8 from where they are. Stock price somewhere between $9.33 to $21.18, and the average would be $14.66. So multiple increase or X increase would be 1 on the low side, 2.2 on the high side, and 1.5 on the average side. So it just really depends on where they grow from here. That's the main thing. If they do grow to 15, 20 exahash going forward, and as long as they do it relatively quickly here within the next 12 months or so, I think that's definitely going to be a good thing for them. Okay, definitely would also probably increase their PE here as well. If we look at the numbers here prior to them, a couple months back, look at that, we had them also at 7.5, which is, I believe, what they were reporting to be at once they merged with USBTC. That's kind of what we're going off with here. So we got them at 15 at that point, and then we were looking at $15.10 and $34 at that point. I think we were estimating around 98 million shares after the merge. Okay, so that's kind of the way those have set up here. Next is going to be on, let's see here, Iris. Iris currently is at $5.87, market cap 391 million, shares outstanding 66 million. Future hash rate growth 8.43. They said that they want to get to, I believe it is 9 or 10 exahash here by the Halving event. So they still have some growth there, and they have plans to get to like 30 exahash potentially down the road, but that's probably not until sometime in 2025, 2026 timeframe, and beyond that maybe. So we just don't know that. We're going by what they have actually reported as being bought, and that's kind of what we're at right now. So future market cap potential is about 5.2 billion. Stock price somewhere between $34.32 on the low side to $77.93 on the high side. The average would be 53.92 cents. So a low multiple increase would be about 5.8x. The high end would be 13.3x, and the average would be 9.2. They have been beaten down here and haven't been doing that well. The two brothers that own the founders sold 1 million shares apiece last week, I believe it was. That didn't bode well, obviously, with some investors as well. There's a little concern there. But this is kind of where we're at right now. I do think that they are undervalued from where they should be. And this is kind of possibly where they could be, depending on how they execute, how they grow, and how Bitcoin goes as well. Okay. Prior to this, they were, let's take a look at that one as well. Iris here, they were at $3.54 with only future hash rate of 5.7. So you can see the difference there in that. And you can see the increases here as well. 10.9 on the average for the increase, and then 6.9x to 15.8x compared to what we have now of a little bit less than that. And that's mainly because the network hash rate is going up more than we expected. Okay, so that's that one. Next is going to be Marathon. Okay. All right, so Marathon is currently at $17.82. Market cap is about $4 billion on them right now. Shares outstanding is 222 million. Future hash rate, I have about 24. They're saying 23. I have more miners than they actually are saying that they're going to be at. They do have joint ventures out in Abu Dhabi, Argentina, and then they are also going to be growing past this. I don't know how much they're going to be growing past this. They're saying they have basically contracted enough capacity for an additional 5 exahash, which means that they have worked with hosting providers, and once they get that all finalized, or it might be already finalized, they may also obviously purchase the miners. They haven't reported on any purchases yet as far as what they're getting, how many they're getting, or anything like that. But when they do, we'll obviously include this in here as well. I'm at P of 20 right now, so market cap would be about 15.8 billion on the high side of things. They could obviously fetch a higher multiple, just like some of the other miners that are growing nicely here in the halving event. We have seen this happen in the last cycle, so I would expect the same thing to happen this time around, but I'm being conservative here, okay? So we're kind of looking right now at between $31.19 on the low side of things, and then $70.82 on the high side of things, and the average would be $49. So we're still looking at about a 1.8x increase on the low side, on the high side about 4x, and then on the average would be somewhere around 2.7x overall. So still definitely good growth there for them, and they could obviously get a lot more here, just like Riot could, which we'll talk about here shortly, Cleanspark, Bitfarms, some of the ones that are getting close to 20 and above exahash for their self-mining. Those, I think, will be the ones that are the ones that get higher multiples possibly, okay, because of the growth that they're seeing, Bitcoin price going up in value and everything else. All right, so still looking pretty good there on it. Let's take a look at how they stacked up last time. Last time Marathon was at, let's see here, about 15 billion in market cap. And then we had a 2.9x increase for them to 6.6 to 4.6, okay, on the average side of things. They were at $11.41 compared to where they are right now at $17.82. So definitely good growth here already. Next is going to be Mawson. Mawson is also one of these smaller guys here. They're pretty much priced like they're going out of business here. They're at $1.12 right now with a market cap of 18 million. Shares outstanding is only 16 million right there. Future hash rate 1.8 roughly. I give them a PE multiple of 5 with future market cap potential of around 200 million. That's if they don't go under. Right? If they don't go under, they do have some debt issues as well, and then growth is lackluster. So it's this would be very, very optimistic if they could get there. Okay. So on the price side of things, we're looking at $5.30 on the low side to $12.04 on the high side. Average would be about $8.33. And then the low multiple would be 4.7. The high multiple would be 10.7, and the average would be 7.4. Okay, so somewhere around there. But we'll have to see. Let's take a look at where they were before as well. Really quick, Mawson here. They had a 25.7. They were at 55 cents at that point. They had a 9 million market cap at that point. So obviously much higher growth potential here. But the issues that they do have, I see why they are priced where they are right now. And they're being priced like they're going out of business, unfortunately. Okay. Next is going to be Riot here. So Riot has kind of, well, put down a stake on everybody here as far as future hash rate growth. They said that they want to get to 38.45 somewhere in 2025. We don't know exactly when, but somewhere in that time frame. So that's kind of where we have them at right now. So if they can pull this off, they're currently at $15.75 with a market cap of 3.2 billion. Shares outstanding is 206. We know that in order for them to get to the 38.45, they will have to dilute, okay? We just don't know how much they're going to have to dilute. We can run some numbers as far as what they're buying and everything else, and then how much cash they have, what can they do with it all. Okay, PE growth of multiple of 20, and then the future market cap would be around 19 billion if they also mined for the full time. I don't think I have the actual, let's take a look at it here on the all-time high spot. For Riot, I think we are actually using the average number of days that they mine here. So Riot, 19.5 days on average over the last couple months that we've been tracking this. So it has gotten a little bit better here, but that's kind of the average here that we're looking at for them. So we are taking that into account as well. So even with that, they should be about 19 billion, given that they can continue to mine right around those 19 days or so, 20 days a month. And price target, like I said, is $49.30 to $94.52. The average would be $70.22. The multiple here for them would be on the low side of 3.1x, on the high side of 6x, and the average would be 4.5, right? But that's if they can get to 38 exahash before the halving event, or not before the halving event, relatively quickly after the halving event. Okay, and then depending how much they dilute here, that's going to definitely change things. So if they dilute, 50 million shares, 100 million shares, you could knock this number down basically a third. So if they dilute 100 million shares, it's basically 33. Well, that'd be 50% of where they are or where they were, but they would only add at that point 300 million shares, and they had somewhere around there. So about a third you could take off on the price targets here after that. Okay, and then here's how they stacked up last time. You can see here, and it is right there. So at that point they were at $12, still looking at a market cap of 11.9 million, but they had a future hash rate expected of 20. So you can see how hash rate has a huge impact on how much more revenue they can get and what their market cap could possibly go based on what they have. Okay, I mean, it's basically because they're doubling their hash rate here almost from where they were before. Okay. Next one is going to be Sphere 3D. Sphere 3D is also one of the smaller ones here that we cover. They're currently $1.47, market cap at 21 million. Also not priced very well, like they're going to survive. Shares outstanding 14 million right now. Future hash rate 1.8. PE multiple of 5 right now. Potential market cap future cap would be 180 million for them. That's if they can survive the halving event and potentially even even if they're stuck at this, but if they can survive the halving event, they might be able to get there. Okay, so on the low side for the stock price, we're looking at $5.53 to $12.56. Average would be $8.69. That would give us a low multiple of 3.8x, high multiple of 8.5x, and the average of 5.9. If we look at the previous numbers for them as well, how that stacked up, you can see we had a 15.3x. They were priced much lower at that point. They were only 9.5 million. And market cap and future cap was 210 million, and now it is a little bit less than that, but they're definitely up higher from where they were. All right, last two here. Stronghold. Stronghold is an odd one here. They don't provide a lot of great information. When they do, they're always late on it. So currently they're at $5.14, market cap at 40 million right now. They're also being priced like they're not going to be able to survive, really, if you think about it, where the other miners are. Based on the exahash they have a lot of debt issues. They have a lot of cost issues that they need to get under control. So I don't know how realistic this is going to be for them to get to 552 million in market cap. That would basically equate to them being about $30.58 on the low side to $69 on the high side. Average would be $48 for them. And the multiple X would be 5.9x. High side would be 13.5x. The average would be 9.3x. Okay. Don't know how that's going to happen unless they really cut down on costs and everything else for them. Stronghold here, they do have also the carbon credits possibly going to be a big contributor to their bottom line here. So we'll have to see how that works out. But prior to that, they were at $4.29, 31 million market cap at that point. And we had a market cap of 645 for them compared to the 552. So that's how things have shaped up here. High multiple would be 20.3 last time. We're now at 13.5. And you can see how big of an impact it has on the network hash rate increases on the miners here. And then finally, the last one here, Terawulf. Terawulf is a pretty nice sized miner, but they have also debt issues. They have quite a bit of debt, not as much assets on hand. So if they can deal with the debt, I think they'll do great going forward. So we'll have to see, obviously, where they go. But they're currently at $1.78 right now. Market cap is at 424 million. Shares outstanding 238 million. Their future market cap could be around 4.8 billion, right? If things go well for them, that's on the high side. So price targets for the stock are somewhere between $9.04 to $20.52 on the high end. Average would be about $14.20. And then the X multiple here would be 5.1 on the low end. High end would be 11.5, and the average would be about 8, right? I still think that they are undervalued, but the concern there is the debt. So you can see why they're being valued the way they are. If they could fix that debt, I think the stock would skyrocket. Looking at over here, on this one, we have them at 8.5 to 19.5 to 13.5 with a market cap of 5.4 at that time. And you can see how things shape up here for them. Okay, so that's a comparison for all these guys here. So big takeaway from this is hash rate growth. They got to have hash rate growth going into the halving event, after the halving event potentially as well. Get as high as you can with the Bitcoin bull run happening for them. And that's the only thing that's going to really set miners apart, I think. HODL obviously helps as well, but it's not being valued as much as I thought it was going to be, or some others people have thought that was going to be valued going into a bull run that we're kind of seeing right now a little bit. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of this. Obviously, a lot of data there. I try to be kind of conservative on the numbers here. Like I said, the miners could go up even higher than this. The PE multiple in the last cycle was higher than where I have it right now at 20. We saw it as high as 30, 35, even 40. So take that into consideration as well, because that could have a huge impact, obviously, where the stock price goes, right? These are my conservative numbers. If we get to somewhere in the middle in here, I'm going to be thrilled, right? And I think a lot of you would be thrilled as well on this. If we get past that, that's just gravy, right? That's all better for us. So that's it. Let me know what you guys thought of all this. Obviously, this will be available to my Patreon members as always. That's still only $5 a month membership there. The link is down in the description. And if you pay for a yearly subscription, you get 10% off on that. And you get access to our Discord channel as well. That's private. I have a great conversation going on there. Other than that, tomorrow, there will probably not be a video from me. I'm going to be busy in the evening, so I probably won't have time to do it. So we'll probably, anything that happens tomorrow, we'll cover in probably Saturday's video, if that happens, okay? Other than that, I think that's it. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So I do appreciate you guys watching very much. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this and spending the time here. Hopefully you guys found some of these parts useful. I'm sure there's going to be some of you guys that will disagree with some of the numbers, which is okay. I'm not too worried about that. We do try to keep the numbers as accurate as possible, but we need to have obviously definitive answers from the miners as well. Okay, so that is it. I'm rambling on here. Again, thank you so much. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Have a happy Friday, and I'll see you guys in the weekend.